Holiday Healthy Huddle, featuring Leslie Kasanoff and Angie Yates on Alternative Health Tools podcast, where together we discover alternative healthcare tools and explore integrative healing philosophies for both individuals and practitioners.
Hello to all. This is Angie here with Leslie, and we are so excited to do our podcast today. It's all about where we get together, we discover alternative healthcare tools, and explore integrative healing philosophies for both the individuals and practitioners. And today it is all about what we call the healthy holiday huddle.
Is there such a thing as a healthy holiday?
I don't know. I like that grandma's fudge. I'm just saying.
And yeah, so that's why we decided to talk about this today, because the holidays are upon us. And the thing with that is people go to extremes in both directions. So my whole thinking about this is just taking a step back and acknowledging where we are, what's going on, what's going to be coming up in the next couple, 3-4 weeks for most of us, which is, depending on exactly when this publishes, everything between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and all of the many holidays that are across the board, whether you're Jewish and there's Hanukkah, or you celebrate Kwanzaa, there is a whole slew. I think I was reading something about there are 27 holidays between mid-November and mid-January.
Yes, so that means there's a lot of eating choices and a lot of stress to eat Aunt Mabel's fudge.
And many other things that we don't want to put in our bodies. So how do you parse all that? I think the first thing that we have to look at is not to expect perfection. I think as a society, we tend to go to one end or the other end, like we do in so many other areas of life, be it politics or whatever. Everything is so ultra left and ultra right. It's like, no, you don't need to either throw it all to hell and eat whatever you want, eat everything in sight, binge eat, binge drink, all that. And on the opposite end of the fence, you don't need to be perfect.
Right. So what you're saying is eating that organic celery stick is going to really place you under the holiday food table versus in alignment with everyone else.
Exactly. Well, and not only that, but you're not going to feel good doing that either. You want to be able to go to a holiday party and enjoy yourself. And in order to do that, it just takes a little bit of planning. And kind of the classical things that I try to mention to my coaching clients, the first thing is exactly that, plan. The second thing is, perfect thing to talk about is an evening holiday gathering, because that's the kind of thing that you can have really good control over how you do that. You can bring a healthier dish, and you can eat something before you go so that you're not so full. And my other suggestion is to be very, very cognizant of what you're drinking. And I will vouch for that as personal experience, because I know personally that even just one drink, and it takes away a lot of that inhibition, and some of those things that I might not ordinarily eat start to become, maybe I'll just have one.
So are you saying that I can't drink up my Missouri moonshine? Are you saying I got to cut back on that?
I'm just saying, know yourself. And if you're the person that when you really look at it, you know that that takes you down the road you don't want to go, then just make that choice.
Right. Yeah.
You
I
know?
was just teasing. The
Yeah.
other thing
Oh,
I will suggest is that digestive enzymes as a supplement are your friend right now, especially during the holiday season
Mhm.
when many people may be eating more than they normally do or eating foods that they normally don't eat, and
Right.
getting that multiple digestive enzyme, right? With the lipase, protease,
Exactly.
the whole combination. I
Yeah.
won't even go through them
Yeah.
all, but a multiple digestive enzyme is going to be beneficial. And not that, again, I'm not justifying poor eating decisions during the holidays, but if you're going to do it, let's give you some tips. The other thing I would say is chromium picolinate. So chromium picolinate is going to help those sugars balance. So when you have that, you know, grandma's cheesecake and you got to have a slice of it, those 5 chocolate chip cookies or whatever it is, by having some chromium picolinate, that's going to also help you balance those sugars. Now, we're not suggesting go all crazy, but we also know that, you know, Aunt Mabel's 90 years old and this may be her last fudge this year. So we get it. We totally get it.
And the other thing is, just because you're having a piece of Aunt Mabel's fudge doesn't mean you have to eat the whole pound.
Exactly.
And if Aunt Mabel makes those pieces of fudge in that are too big, take it and cut it in half or quarters and just have a taste.
Right. Because that fulfills the emotional component. It also does the fellowship, the relationship component.
Exactly.
You know, because there's an emotion to all of this, right? All this season.
There certainly is. And, you know, and like we were saying, you want to also think in terms of bringing something healthy with you. So maybe instead of bringing some kind of meat dish that you might ordinarily make, you might think about substituting out, you know, one of the things that we mentioned earlier when Angie and I were talking, you know, mushrooms are a great substitute for beef in many dishes. So that's an alternative that you can look at. Or just look at ways to make things so that they're a little bit less sweet. For example, people talk about sweet potatoes. Now, I make a phenomenal sweet potato casserole that doesn't have any of the crap in it that you don't want. And it's basically just sweet potatoes, and I'll throw in a can of crushed pineapple in its own juice. And then I'll throw in some dried fruit or, you know, whatever else. Dried apricots work really well with it. And I'll throw some cinnamon, ginger, and cardamom in it to sweet spices, and bake all that together. And so there's none of that marshmallow or added sugar. I mean, who needs that? There's so much that you can do with fruit to make that sweetness that you don't need to do the other stuff. So that's another example of how you can bring something sweet into it.
Yeah, I love that. I want to respond to that too. I have a couple of things that came to mind.
Sure.
When we consume 10 teaspoons of sugar, that depletes our immune system by 50%. So it's at 50% operation for up to 2 hours. So if we're hammering our body with all this sugar, now our immune system is going to go down, and now we are susceptible to viruses and other situations getting in our body because the immune system is trying to fight over here.
Right.
The other thing I was going to say as a plus, I don't know, just think of it as you leading the pack, is that by bringing a dish that's different, a substitute dish, maybe you're bringing cooked cauliflower that resembles mashed potatoes instead, or maybe you're taking squash and you're adding butter and some salt and pepper and you're bringing that steamed, right? You're introducing possibly your family or wherever you're going with a healthy version that they may not have tasted. You could be leading them to a healthier way without lecturing them to a healthier way. right?
Exactly.
But really shifting it, saying, this really is good. And they may have that preconceived notion of, that's tree bark and whatever. And you're showing them that it can taste good.
Yeah, exactly. And you can do that with everything from, there are phenomenal vegan low-fat dips that do not taste vegan and low-fat. And I make an artichoke and spinach dip that has some substitutes in it that is, that I think is a whole lot tastier than the ones that are made with mayonnaise and cheese.
Right, exactly. Especially, okay, I'm going to say a name and I know, whatever, Velveeta. Nothing drives me crazier than melting Velveeta and then you're consuming plastic. Like, I don't get it. There's plenty of alternatives. And, Leslie and I were talking before we came on to do this podcast is, you can just search online. There's lots of alternatives, lots of creative recipes you can do out there. And we're just really sending you a challenge out to take one of those dishes and why don't you just be creative and let those creative juices go and create a really cool dish from an alternative or a substitution list and see what folks think. You might be surprised at how good natural food is. Just saying.
Exactly. You've like you said, there's a ton of places you can find. You could start out at my website, just saying.
Perfect. What is that website?
It's drlesliek.com.
There you go.
And I do have some healthy recipes on there. Thinking off the top of my head, I'm not sure what's on there as far as the holidays, but if it's not there, there are plenty of other places. You can Google low-fat vegan. You can Google, just regular vegan, whatever it is that you want to accomplish.
I love it.
And so there's plenty of things out there. I think the biggest thing is to just be open to the idea that the holidays doesn't have to be a time where you're going to walk around, for however many days, regretting, being so bloated and foggy and everything else because you blew it all and you just feel horrible. Take it a step at a time. Use a little foresight. Think about where you're going, where you're going to be, what you can bring that's going to make a difference to you, first of all. And you might have that cousin or brother that's going to give you a hard time about the food that you're bringing. It's like, just let them be.
Yeah. That's funny because I definitely am that person in our family that brings the healthy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
But, there's 4 words that I love to teach, and I've taught my kids these. Thank you for sharing. So it's very similar to if you live in the South and it's bless their little loving hearts, right?
Yeah.
It's the same concept of just really honor those individuals where they are, their education level, their knowledge level, their growth, their personal growth level, etc., all contributes to them having XYZ, which is something that you would not.
Right.
At the same time, judging them on their fried chicken when you wouldn't consume it really makes you know better. Those are their decisions, their journey, their experiences. Now, again, I'm going to encourage digestive enzymes, chromium picolinate, and just like Leslie said, planning ahead at some level, eating at home. So yes, you consume food at wherever you're going to, but maybe not as much as what you normally would because you've already eaten. And just use wise decisions because Leslie's right. You don't want to feel like the marshmallow doughboy or whatever, after you eat, you're like, oh my gosh, I've never consumed so much.
Why did I do that?
Right, exactly. So taking those precautions and really understanding that it is really a time for fellowship and relationship building. And yes, Aunt Mabel's famous fudge is good, but like Leslie said, maybe not the 2x2 square. Maybe it's a 1-inch square instead.
Right.
And there'll be a lot of emotional eating too. So really understanding why are you going back for the 5th chocolate chip cookie? Is it because it's there or because you want it? Like really get to know yourself too, and get to know your relationship and your inner relationship with those individuals in which you are hanging with during this holiday season.
That just made me think of how all that ties together. Watch how, whether or not you being in the same room with certain people whose attitudes you may not totally appreciate, tends to push you towards that food that is not the food that you want to be consuming. So just that meta awareness.
Yeah, I love it. Great idea.
Yeah.
Holiday's a great time for us to recognize our own inner self, our own relationships, our relationship to food. As a society, we have a huge relationship to food. You can't have an event without having massive food. And it also gives you an opportunity, if we shift the script a little bit, for you to lead naturally, right? For you to really present the alternative or alternative foods or different ways to prepare foods, and really step into your genius as your belief systems are, and allowing those environments to allow you to shine your genius and be the light. We need to be a light right now.
Exactly. And have fun with it. Know that, in my case, my brother or whoever is going to make fun of whatever dish I bring. And let that be okay. I could also, if I chose to, make fun of his pot belly, but I choose not to.
Right. Don't take it personally. Don't put it on your sleeve. Because everyone has a different journey. Everyone has a different belief system. And it's amazing. You may wake up a lot of folks if you bring such a delicious dish to an event or to an experience, and really add light and add an experience.
And in that line, there are some great lower fat, again, vegan alternatives for things like pumpkin pie, the cheesecakes, all those other things that, try the recipe beforehand. And I'm willing to bet that you're going to find that recipe is just as good. And many times you can bring that dessert to the holiday party and you can put it on the table. They won't even know.
Exactly. I love it.
And then you can decide if you want to tell them afterwards.
Exactly. Or just take the accolades of, wow, that pumpkin pie was great. You don't have to tell them it was made with coconut. No. I love it. All right. We hope that you did achieve a few items. We did some ahas. You got some tips and tools and tricks or whatever for your holiday season. The biggest thing I would like to say is this is a time for building relationships and fellowship. Don't take it personal. It's everyone's own journey. Be the light in the room, bring something healthy with you, and get to know yourself as you go through the holidays and really get to know what you stand for in your belief systems. Awesome. Anything else, Leslie, for this lovely holiday healthy huddle?
And whatever holidays you are celebrating, may they be healthy and happy. Let's bring on next year and have it be a wonderful, productive, enlightening year for all of us.
Absolutely. All right. Until we get to talk with you again, God bless and make it an epic day.